Hello and welcome to the 42 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Want to remind everyone, in fact, that the sun is out and the fun is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Score a cool pool, savor summer flavor with a grill, prep for fishing weekends, or mount up with a new mountain bike. However you have fun, you can't lose with the top brands at Academy. Gear up online at academy.com or at your local store. Say thank you to the good people at Academy. And I want to say thank you to my three co-hosts here. We've got Sauce, Zebby Barrels, Big Tex, Joe Healy, Aaron J. Fitt, Kendall J. Rogers. Gentlemen, I have a random question for you. What is a weird thing that you are an aficionado of? Like I'll go first. Coach Rooney is randomly and weirdly following Everton Football Club. Go Toffees. That's my brother's fault. My brother Sean got me into EPL, and I am an Everton football fan. As we enter the Jack Grealish era, that will mean nothing to most people.
Interesting. I never knew you were a soccer fan.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a soccer fan. I'm a little fraudulent, but we're giving it a good effort. Fitzy, what say you? What are you weirdly an aficionado of?
Come back to me,
Joe.
Well, okay, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, go, Kendall. You got something? Please.
Yeah,
say
I was gonna say like the weather. When I was in college, when I first started going to school at A&M, like actually I wanted to do meteorology. Like I wanted to be a weatherman. Like growing up, like I always, wanted to be. I'm trying to remember. Joe can get my memory going here, but Dave Dixon on KPRC Channel 2 in Houston. Like I kind of grew up on him, and so like I wanted to be him someday. And so even now, I have a pretty good feel for weather. Like if we're like football practice, I can tell them pretty quickly, like, hey, it's about to rain. Whenever you have no idea it's about to rain. So like this time of year,
apps. What you have a routine? What's
Wonderground. I told KP about this a while back. So like in Omaha, I use Radar Scope. It's awesome. Well, I'm not going to show you guys my phone screen, but Radar Scope's awesome because it will actually like let you point an arrow to wherever the storm is, and it'll actually tell you how long it will be before it actually hits. So just the weather, man. I also love following hurricanes. So like there's a hurricane in the Caribbean. Like I'll get up every morning and like as I'm like I'll look at the news and then I'll go look at like where the hurricane went overnight and like, is it going to move? So weather.
Oh, awesome. Mike Trout, big weather guy too. So
really? It's fascinating. It's really cool. So maybe in my next life when I'm reincarnated as something else.
As Dave Dixon.
There you
go.
Fitzy, are you ready or you want to come back? You want to hit
I'm ready. Right, I'm gonna circle back to our pre-recording conversation. Tecmo Super Bowl coach. I'm a big Tecmo Super Bowl guy.
Yes.
That's
not a surprise though. Like you gotta something. I don't know that surprise us.
Not you guys, but the listeners don't know. I mean, I can run down 1991 NFL rosters pretty impressively.
What's something like not in sports related that we don't know about you that you're big into?
I'm not big into it. I'm boring.
Like, are there shows or anything? Like, for instance, when I come home or I go to bed every night, my wife's watching like shows about serial killing like wives. And
what about?
I'm always wondering, like, by the way, it's wink, wink. If I'm not alive one morning, you know what happened.
My wife also big into the serial killing wives.
Here we go.
Circuit. Yeah, for sure.
What about Pearl Jam? You're a big Pearl Jam guy.
Yeah,
you do a lot of Pearl Jam shows.
Yeah, but that's not. I mean,
okay. Well,
they're decently popular.
You guys are putting a lot of guardrails on this answer.
Like Fitt, give us one thing that like none of us like know about you that if you're at home. Like you like to watch it, you like to do it. Like, give me something.
Come back to me.
Let me ask you this question. Like you said, you're a Tecmo. Like when I would announce, and my brain went to, hey, this is like a guy that loves Latin, a dead language. Are we still? Can you still play Tecmo Bowl or like this?
Damn
is like,
right,
you can download it. So you can download it on if you have a Switch. You can download old Nintendo games.
When was the last time you played Tecmo, Fitzy?
ACC tournament in the press box.
Did you house somebody?
No, but I introduced our some of our younger friends, Bradley Smart, for instance, Grace Nugent, introduced them to the wonders of Tecmo. You just play it on your computer. Just Google Tecmo Super Bowl. You can play it right now. Yeah, it's easy.
And who's your go-to team?
I don't like admitting this publicly.
Jackson.
No, I was an Eagles guy. Randall Cunningham, who went by the name QB Eagles. I mean, you wreak havoc with that guy. Jerome Brown, Reggie White. We got a lot of toys on the Eagles.
Love this. All right,
I'll take that answer. That is a great game. Probably the best game ever, honestly.
Randall Cunningham. Love it. Joe, what say you? Joe is the most interesting man in college baseball, so everyone brace yourselves.
Yeah, this was kind of tough for me from the opposite standpoint of Aaron, because I'm someone, whether it's because of just how my brain works or I don't know, like I'm someone who really likes to learn a little about a lot of things. I just will deep dive on things and get kind of focused on something. So I've got a number of answers. The most mainstream one is tennis, big tennis guy, actually going to the Winston-Salem Open on Monday, with some friends. So yeah, exactly. Everybody's going to be there. Me, John Isner.
I will interject that when I was an intern at the Greensboro News and Record in the early 2000s, I covered a random John Isner tennis match. He's from Greensboro.
He is from Greensboro. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. He's coming there. He's retired now, but he's going there as like he's doing some sort of like honorary thing or something.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll see that on D1 Extra or SEC Extra next week.
That's right. The top ranked player in the field is Arthur Fils from France, a young Frenchman.
That
guy.
So what's he rated in the world? Like, I mean, is he pretty highly rated?
Yeah, he's in the 20s.
Oh, wow, there you go.
It's a smaller tournament, so they don't get the big names typically. Actually, I like because they got a wild card. Stefano Tsitsipas is probably the top player in the tournament. Yeah, he's Greek.
I didn't want to correct you on air, Joe, but thank you.
Yeah, no, I get it. He was a late entry.
Can we have Sive pronounce that name?
Late entry to the
field. only if you have police tape ready. Like, we could get
I want Sev to come on and talk about Mark Philippoussis. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean,
Mark Philippoussis. That was a big serve. Like he'd hit you with that can opener serve, and you didn't have a chance.
What was the guy that like Pete Sampras and like Agassi, like they would play each other all the time, those Grand Slams? Ivan Ivanisevic? Was that his name?
Goran Ivanisevic.
Yeah, it would be like him versus the American and like every single Grand Slam final there for like 3 or 4 years.
A little bit of Jim Courier mixed in.
Yeah.
I
used to watch tennis a lot growing up, by the way. My dad was like a state level championship tennis player. So yeah, I watched a ton of tennis as a kid. I used to love it.
Learned something about Mr. Kenny Rogers today.
Yeah, he's a good tennis player back in his day.
But I'm a big crossword guy. Do a lot of crosswords. Love the New Yorker crossword, New York Times crossword, the Washington Post crossword. I like to read travel writing. Like I'm a big Bill Bryson reader. So I always go through a lot of books just that teach me about different areas of the world and different places. And sometimes that kind of gets me motivated to travel to those places. So that's got a little side benefit of that as I learn about some places I might want to eventually go. So there's that, and I could go on, but let's go ahead and leave it there.
We also learned about from a picture that Joe sent to our group chat last night that he was once a movie star.
Yeah, he was actually a drummer, I believe, and
I would share that photo on this live cast if Joe wouldn't kill me.
That's fine. I'm not embarrassed.
Okay, well,
I should be, but I'm not embarrassed.
No, you should not be. I actually showed that to my wife, and she was like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's Joe."
Yeah, I had a lot of hair. Believe it or not. That's why I lost my hair.
Your eyes are glistening in that picture.
Thank you.
It's true.
Thank you. I couldn't keep a baseball cap on. Every time I'd go to run after a fly ball, my hat would just fly right off.
Coach Rooney, I got to tell you, you've lost contain on this podcast. We're 9 minutes in. We're 9 minutes in. We're talking about nonsense.
The state of college baseball must be awesome because we're talking about God knows what on here.
Runes, do your job, man.
I know. You can't stop it. You can only hope to contain it. We did lose contain. Yeah.
It's like an
All
Angel.
Right, let's rock and roll.
What's the guy's name? Angel. What's his name? The umpire.
Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
Angel Campos.
Thank you. Angel Campos lost control of the game in the first inning. Like that's
Chris Angel. Is it Chris Angel? Is that here?
Chris Angel.
Chris Angel, mind freak.
I started the podcast and then went on a smoke break, and this is what I've come back to.
What a weirdo that guy was.
All right. That said,
I did not have Chris Angel mind freak.
We're gonna get so many one-star reviews on this pod. Like these guys, like stop talking nonsense that nobody cares about. Talk about baseball.
Joe's totally a Chris Angel mind freak guy, isn't he?
Please forward to the 9-minute and 48-second part of the podcast. All right, gentlemen, state of college baseball part 3. Today we vote on some proposals. Your votes that are available to you are yay, nay, or table. You may vote yes in favor of the concept. You may vote no, or you can table. Like maybe this is not the year to implement said proposal. So let's start with the most obvious one that we talked about over the first two parts of this podcast, field of 68. Now, let me explain so we really understand what this means. We would have 4 playing games on the Thursday before the regionals would start. So I like that better than the basketball element where they have to start on Tuesday and like nobody knows that they started. We would be a 1-game play-in game Thursday night. If you win that game, you just stay. And if you lose that game, then your season is over. So what I did is the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed, they get the 4 air quotes worst of the AQs. And so we're going to discuss how we would determine that in a second. And then seeds 15 and 16 get those 4, at-large teams that didn't make the field. Like in this case, I think it's Virginia was one of them. Who am I missing? I think Troy was one of them this year, Sela, and there's another one I'll think of in a second here. But anyway, those teams go to the 15 and 16 seeds. They play Thursday night. I want to talk about the AQs, though, because this is the debate becomes, are the AQs getting screwed? So what I did is I took the 4 worst leagues by RPI, and this year that was the MAC with 2 A's, how dare me, the NEC, the SWAC, and the Horizon. And those teams then have to play in. So basically, Vandy, I gave them Central Connecticut State and Bethune-Cookman would play in Thursday night to stay and play Vandy as the 4 seed. And that at number 2, Texas, Wright State and Fairfield would play in Thursday night for the right to play there. So I think the debate, and I'd be curious your guys' opinions. Do you think it's more fair to say, okay, the 4 worst leagues by RPI, or whatever metric we choose are going to be the 4 play-in AQs? Or do you leave it to the committee, just say, hey, tell us who the 4 worst AQs are based on examination of their resume, and they're the play-in teams?
Yeah.
What say you, Fitzy? You could start us.
Yeah, the latter. I think that's, the committee's job is to build the field, and they stack these teams up, and they currently have a last 4 and a next 4. So I just think that the teams that are currently the next 4 would be the ones that you would just slide into those play-in games. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah. Kendall, you agree, it sounds like?
Yeah, I'm with Fitzy on that one.
Yeah, because the danger is the Summit League was one of the worst 4 a few years ago, and that meant Oral Roberts, who was like every bit an Omaha team, not just like a sneak into Omaha, but Omaha and then like make some noise. So anyway, Joe, you're in favor of that too. So don't use RPI by conference.
Yeah, I think so. I think the good news about this is I don't know that. I mean, that's going to be a distinction without a difference in a lot of years, right? It tends to be that same handful of conferences, and those RPIs tend to be pretty stinky just in general. So I don't think it's going to make a huge difference either way. But your exact caveat, Runes, is why I prefer let's evaluate those 4 teams, because it's not like it's going to take you that much. We're already here. So the only reason to do it the other way, I think, would just be strictly convenience, of just not having to think about it. But come on, let's actually apply some rigor to this process.
Yep, for sure. All right, well let's vote. Fitzy, what you seem to be the leadoff hitter today. What say you? Would you vote in favor of a field of 68 for next season?
Yeah, I would. I think with 300 and change Division I teams, only having 64 teams in the tournament is not very many. I think expanding that bubble just a little bit, I think would be a positive step, and something that has been talked about for a long time. I remember Todd Whitting, early on at Houston when he first got there. Had gotten the American Athletic Conference to propose this, and it just kind of never went anywhere. But it's been on the table for at least a decade, I feel like, and it just kind of fizzled. But yeah, I'm in favor of it. I mean, I think it's it also kind of gives an extra advantage to the one seeds that have don't have to necessarily face then a scary ace from a 4 seed in that first game. And so those one seeds have earned that extra advantage. I'm good with that.
Yeah. You could argue Vandy, man, to win be the number 1 overall seed and draw Wright State. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's brutal. Go ahead, Kendall. What say you here?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I like what Fitzy pointed out with the top seeds getting a little bit easier path. I'll also think when you look historically back at NCAA tournament fields, more often than not, if you look at the next 4, they're pretty comparable to the last 4. So I do think when you get past those 4 teams, it starts to get it starts to go down quite a bit. But those 4 teams is typically like I think maybe this past year there were 1 or 2 teams that you could look at and you would go, I don't know if I'd have them on that list. But I mean, for the most part, it's 4 teams that you could be interchangeable with the last 4, and you're going, okay, that's a pretty good decision, or that makes sense.
Yep. Hey, Joe, before you go, and if someone has not listened to the first 2 episodes, I will. One of the debates in this is that, it's just going to go to power 4 teams and blah, blah, blah. But we have not experienced that in baseball because we've been at 64. I think the arguments in basketball are not comparable for us because they've been at 68 for a while. So when they talk about expansion, they are kind of going down the path you're talking about, Kendall, where like, man, those teams do seem to fall off. But here's our last 5 seasons of first 4 out, the teams that just missed. There's not one repeat, but Southeast Louisiana, Troy, UConn, Virginia, Cal, Cincinnati, Charleston, TCU, Arizona State, Kansas State, Kent State, UC Irvine, NC State, Old Dominion, Rutgers, Wofford, Baylor, Pittsburgh, Georgia, Ball State. I mean, that's a compelling list for me.
Well, especially like UConn. I mean, if it wasn't for the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, like UConn was a really good team. So the fact that they were left out, I mean, that's a very good baseball team that did not play in the postseason.
So many good examples on that list of teams that, like, man,
Troy.
You hated the fact that they weren't in. They felt like they were regional caliber teams and should have been in or could have been in, and it just fell a little short for one reason or another. And it's like, I think the tournament's better with those teams involved.
Yep. Joe, what say you? And feel free to offer any commentary here.
Yeah, so I'm going to do the thing like, how Supreme Court justices can vote one way, but then in their opinion, they can kind of say, now here's where I'm concerned. Yeah. So like, I'm voting yes, yay, if you will. That's yay, not like yay, although kind of both, I guess. But my concern is kind of what you allude to, Runes, because I agree with you. With the last 4 or the first 4 out that we've seen the last handful of years, like you're right, we don't really have like an oversaturation of power conferences problem. However, like, because we're dealing with, I say this all the time, we're dealing with human beings on this committee. Like, I can foresee a scenario where let's run back last year, right? Let's say it's a field of 68 next year, and it just, the results are the exact same. Like, I can foresee a scenario where suddenly, because they're given a little bit extra leeway, where magically, even though they weren't in the discussion really, Texas A&M is magically one of those last 4 teams in, because now you start to, people start to make the argument of, well, I mean, they're as talented as anybody. Let's take a flyer on them because they could get to Omaha, which they could have, right? I mean, they're plenty talented. And so that's my concern, is like, when push really comes to shove, can the committee still draw a line on, we're not taking like below average power conference teams instead of a second team from this conference that had their best year in 10 years or whatever, I think that's going to be harder to do when we're actually doing this in practice, as opposed to when they're building a first 4 out. Yeah, the first couple cuts might've been tough. But by the time you're talking about team 4, it's like, well, let's throw them in there, 'cause it doesn't really matter. Right. So whoever the 68 team was last year doesn't, but now that it's going to matter on that kind of level, I worry about folks getting a little bit of cold feet leaving out some of those teams. There wasn't an argument for A&M last year, but if there were 4 more spots and suddenly, you had to evaluate them a little more seriously, I could have seen that kind of thing happening. And I don't think any of us thought that A&M was ultimately deserving, and they got left out rightfully. So, anyway, but yes, I'm voting yay.
Yep. I'm with you. I think the 2 things to monitor here would be what you just said. There's a big difference between actually saying someone's first 4 out and then actually putting them in the field. Like that could change some actions. And then I also think, like the Thursday night games, I think they will be really fun. I think I would play them all 4 at the same time, honestly, like do like a quad box or, you couldn't necessarily do that though, because actually this year, the 15 seed was UCLA, so they'd be on the West Coast. So I guess they would have their own time slot. Maybe as I say that out loud, that'd be better anyway. But yeah, I think it'd be. Overall, I'm encouraged. There's no perfect answer to any of these things, but I would vote yay as well.
Runes, I'm sorry to slow us down again, but I thought about something as you were saying that too. I think there's value in. I think one of the things that the NCAA basketball tournament has done correctly with the 68 is it does provide a little bit of a showcase for a 16 seed from the SWAC and from the NEC to play on that Tuesday. And does it do the numbers that the first round games are going to do on Thursday or Friday? No, but that's the first time I guarantee you for 99.99% of the viewing audience, it's the first time they've seen either of those two teams play all season. And so let's say ESPN picks up these games, which they would, because it's part of the postseason package. Like that's going to be a lot of eyeballs on, pick your team there that doesn't get watched during the regular season. So I do think there's value there too, of just like almost forcing eyeballs on some programs that just don't normally get them.
I'll throw one more wrinkle into this discussion, because when I've thought about this in the past, I've thought sometimes, well, why are we making those 4 automatic qualifiers play the play-in games? They've already qualified. Like it feels like it's kind of punishing those teams, and B is punishing the 1 seeds, because like you might have to face a team that's a de facto 3 seed instead of a true 4. Like why not have your next 4 teams play the last 4 in, the last 4 at-large teams in, and have and just slide into that 3 seed line.
Yeah,
So
I mean the problem you run into
ahead.
with that. Well, no, the thing I was going to say is the problem you run into with that is, I mean, I would make it where the bottom, maybe those 14. I don't know. I would say the bottom 4 automatic qualifiers play in those games.
I think you have to do both, like because it's basically and I would say, Fitzy, to your point, like let's just finish the exercise. So the way I did it is UCLA is the 15 seed. Their new 3 seed, I moved Arizona State out, and their new 3 seed was the winner of Troy versus UConn. So, and then for Southern Miss, who was the 16 seed, I moved Miami out of there. I had to replace Miami, and Southern Miss's 3 seed was now the winner of Southeastern Louisiana versus Virginia. So, and I think to your point, Fitzy, like that is a rub with the AQs, but I would tell you that those AQs typically get their teeth kicked in. I think I could make the argument over the course of like, is it better for the winner of the SWAC to go 0-2 every year, or have this Thursday night playing game, to Joe's point, where this now becomes a winnable game, whereas a lot of times the games they're playing in the NCAA tournament, if we're being honest, aren't really winnable games.
100%. And that's, I listen to a decent bit of like college basketball, watch and listen to college basketball content. And when they have this kind of debate, the folks who have actually talked to the college basketball coaches who have to deal with this system, it is a split camp. There are some people that say, it doesn't feel like a tournament game. If you lose that, it just feels like you played like a random non-conference game. But the flip side, the people who like it say, look, it gives us a chance to win an NCAA tournament game that we're probably not going to win otherwise. And then second of all, like it gets us playing. So like now baseball throws a wrinkle in because you have the starting pitcher piece of it all, whereas in basketball you don't. But I think for everybody else, your hitters, like, hey, you've seen some live bullets, in an NCAA tournament setting, and now you're maybe that much more equipped to be able to handle the stage and when you actually get into the 4-team part of it.
Yep. Hey, so let's move on to 32 hosts, and I think the 32 host thing, I'll give you guys my vote. I would table here. Even though I've been as big a proponent of this idea as anyone, I'm just not ready to pull the trigger because it's a big change. And I'm like just super torn between like any enterprise to keep growing and thriving. Like you have to be careful of complacency, but you also have to be careful of changing something that's really thriving. There's this great quote that I've heard that I'll read to you guys. It says, hard times create strong people create good times create weak people, and weak people create hard times. And so, like that is the essence of the spectrum you're balancing here, right? Like you don't want to get soft and fat and happy and all that stuff, but you also don't want to just, like people that are scared of complacency, then just start changing things to placate that. And next thing you know, you've messed yourself up, right? Like it's like an elite golfer that, they're winning a bunch of tournaments, but they're not winning majors. Then they undergo a major swing change, and we'll see in 5 years, right? It's like,
or when college baseball changed the bats, thinking it would be some grand idea and ended up almost killing the sport.
Yeah. So I love the idea, but I'm going to table for now. Go ahead, Fitzy.
I'm going to go ahead and vote yes on this one, and partly because I feel like it's just it's going to be one of those like Supreme Court situations where I'm just kind of like the dissenting opinion here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this vote, so it doesn't really matter. So I want to get on the record that I love the idea. I think it would be good for college baseball for all the reasons we outlined in the last podcast. I mean,
it's very compelling. Yes.
I think it's very compelling. I think best of three, our whole game, our whole season is based on best of three series. And then you get to the first week of the postseason and it's just like chaos. It's like you don't build your team around that format. You build your team around winning a best of three series. It's just like, that's what the whole sport's about. And I think it's better for pitcher health. You don't have the temptation to bring guys back on Monday on 1 or 2 days rest. You don't need that. You only have, best of three. You only have 3 games max instead of, having to play 5 or whatever. I mean, I think it's better for growing the game as far as having, as you said many times, Coach Rooney, having on-campus postseason baseball is the biggest way to move the needle and generate interest in a program. And I think it would be very exciting. I still think we would have a very exciting Saturday night. I know Kendall is resistant to losing the Saturday night we have for regionals right now. I think it would still be super exciting. You'd have half the teams with a chance to clinch a round 1 series, and you'd have a bunch of others, that are all in action at the same time. You'd have still have a lot of action, maybe be too much head on a swivel of anything, but like, I think it'd be awesome. And I think like you think about Saturday night of super regionals, that's fun too. And you would have twice as many teams, going, twice as many games going. If that math is right, I think it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love the idea for many reasons. I don't think we're ever going to do it, but I vote yes.
Yeah. Kendall, what say you?
I think I'd table it. I mean, there are too many other, things at play here. I mean, the biggest one for me is when you think about ESPN, A, it's going to cost them more money. B, the first round would be like during the NBA finals. So, I mean, is it gonna get any sort of, is it gonna get more publicity? I mean, it's probably going to get buried a little bit because, during the finals, I want to say, because, the finals have ended in Omaha before. Like I still remember watching LeBron win with the Cavs in the press box in Omaha. So that would be during the NBA playoffs. So I just think if you look at like during the NBA finals or even during the playoffs, like ESPN2 has some sort of like StatCast or something for the playoffs. So those games are going to get buried on ESPNU. So I just don't. I mean, I think it's great to have on-campus, games for another round at places that otherwise would not get it. I just wonder. I mean, what would be the viewership, and would it be worth the extra cost of producing those games?
I think the NBA argument is off base. I'm gonna push back on that because we're already up against the NBA playoffs. We have been forever. I don't know. I mean, it feels like they're just two separate things.
No, I mean, you got to put an extra weekend somewhere though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part you have to figure out is whether you cut a weekend out of the regular season or you push it back a week into the first weekend of July. I mean, sure. I mean that.
Yeah, I think if you move the season back, I think it becomes a little bit clearer.
I would say, Kendall, though, like I'm going to put a pin in your note, though. Like ESPN as the partner here, their opinion does matter, right? Like, or there's a better way to say that, but their opinion is a factor, right? Like, because it is more cost. I would argue that it's because the NBA Finals is going on one of their bazillion stations, and so like we're feeding the rest of the program. Hey, like the ESPN's streaming platform, which is going to be a huge revenue source for the company. This tournament is going to feed that. And so like they might look at it that way, like, hey, this is just another compelling thing, just like the way our NCAA tournament has been currently, that feeds their what's the word I'm looking for? The direct to consumer product.
Yeah.
So, but it is like they are a factor in this.
I mean, ultimately you have to convince ESPN that people are going to watch Vanderbilt play, Cornell
Wright State this year
in a 3-game series on the U.
Right, you have to convince them that watch Wright State beat Vandy as the.
I mean that's one game though. That's just one game though.
Yeah. And I think that we debated whether it'd be more drama, less drama. Like I think, there's a lot here. What I love that we've got a dissenting opinion here. Joe, what vote? I got a mini vote after this vote, but what say you here, Justice Healy?
I promised this was actually going to be my answer all along, not just because it would cause gridlock here, but I'm voting no. So we've got two tables, a yes and a no.
Take it on.
Finally, someone who's going to take a stand instead of this cowardly tabling stuff. I like that. Joe, I respect you.
We might need Nugget to come in here and give the final vote.
Yeah, that's right.
Wag your tail if you're a yes.
Yeah. I first of all, on the complicated calendar piece of it, I remember when ESPN still had the World Cup rights. Like that was an issue in the summertime around the time of Omaha, and then Wimbledon actually used to be a week earlier than it is now. And so it used to also be the second week of Omaha was Wimbledon, and ESPN has that too. So like it was just a lot of complicated. So it's actually a little more clear now. So, and my no here is I'm kind of with you, Runes. Like I like the idea in general. I would like to continue to keep this idea afloat and keep it in the consciousness. But I voted no because like I'm kind of a process guy. I mean, another thing I guess people don't know, I'm master's in public administration. So I think about this as like you would kind of like making a change to a government process or what have you, where it's like, well, we can't do the 32 hosts and also talk about moving to 68 kind of at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I'm voting no because I would rather focus on this 68 thing because I think that has legs too. And so let's do that and see how that goes, because I think that will also help color the second decision. Because to Kendall's point, which I think is fair, is valid, if the audience is not, or if ESPN decides the audience is not there for these play-in games, it might make it a little bit harder to justify, the 32 hosts where there just might not be some of the marquee brands. On the flip side, if those games rate really well, then perhaps it greases the skids a little bit for that change to come through with a 32 host. So I'm going to vote no because I feel like we should focus on the one thing before we try to maybe look at multiple changes.
Yeah, the non-32 host lobbyists clearly got to Justice Healy that we need an investigation. Non-binding, quick vote. Non-binding. This is non-binding. If we did 32 hosts, do you like the idea of staggering them? Like, so half of them would be Friday to Sunday and half of them would be Saturday to Monday? Or do you like just pour them all into Friday to Sunday and compound the chaos? Non-binding, first flinch vote. Kendall, what say you?
That's a good question. Come back to me.
I
seems kind of thinking about
I like kind of
Stagger.
mirror the current super regional setup. I think that's the answer.
Joe?
I'd stagger too, selfishly, because like it makes it easier to follow things, like on the whole. I can see from a fan standpoint though, like it does make it harder to plan around, because one of my biggest gripes with supers is not for us so much as the fans of like, you don't know until 4 or 5 days before it starts whether your team is going to be playing on Friday or Saturday of supers, and I've always kind of disliked that. So it would come with problems, but I think stagger would be the way I'd go.
I'd vote chaos, but I think ESPN would prefer stagger. It'd be interesting to get their opinion. Go ahead, Kendall.
You still have chaos on Saturday though, because you still have all 100%, the games happening. 100%.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think I go stagger too. It might make your job a little easier with squeeze play as well.
Yeah,
it's staggered.
Stagger makes more sense because it's just more. Like if you're ESPN, you're going to incur the extra cost. You want more. You want more tonnage. Yeah,
and I'm going to go back before we move on one more time to reiterate a point from last week, which is here's another major advantage of the 32 hosts. Every game is going to be a sellout because every game is going to have a home team. Whereas now you've got the 3 seed plays a 4 seed on, Saturday at noon.
And it's 98 degrees outside.
It's 98 degrees outside because it's noon, and there's 6 people in the stands. Like, that's not good TV. It's not good for like making money for the NCAA. If you have 32 hosts, every game has a home team. Every game is a sellout. I think it makes the tournament more profitable.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in favor. Yeah, I think that's the thing, that like the parts of the regional weekend currently that we have are so outrageously awesome that we're like consciously not thinking about parts of it that are a little discombobulated or snoozy. Like, like I wrote this in my A10 year in review that, like, Rhode Island played a game at 10:59 p.m.
Yeah.
And then had to play
against DBU, right?
Yeah, and then had to play the next afternoon. Like, their season ended in less than 24 hours. Like, that, I'm not blaming anybody, but that's kind of hot garbage. Like, that's
hot garbage.
Yeah, one time, like, for those Rhode Island kids, that's a once in a lifetime experience that got kind of belittled.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it happens every year when you've got to try to get 2 games in per day at each site, most of which are in the Southeast in early June. It's going to rain and lightning, and like, you're going to have delays. If you only have 1 game a day at each site, you've got a lot more wiggle room with your forecast, and it's so much easier to get the games in. Like, don't forget about the weather factor. I think this is an enormous advantage for the 32 host model. Gosh,
I think there's also.
How have I not convinced you guys? You guys want to do a revote on this? Listen, I've won this debate. I demand a revote.
You pumped Justice Healy up for voting no, and now you're screaming at us tablers.
Well, I want to convince these 2 wafflers to do the right thing.
Here's actually a question. Like, here's a vote we can have. So the college football playoff now has on-campus games the first round. I mean, would you guys be in favor of college baseball going like home, and then going to like an indoor facility somewhere that avoids weather? But let's say you have 3 different super regionals at one site.
I like what we have now. I don't think we're quite ready for neutral site postseason.
I magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I would leave it alone for now.
But imagine if you had, I mean, again, I'm not in favor of that. I was just kind of thinking about this, but like, imagine if like Tropicana, you had Florida playing FSU, LSU playing, Tennessee, and then Arkansas playing someone all in the same venue throughout the day. That'd be kind of cool.
It would be neat. But I think you could also, I've kind of thought, and I know that TV is part of this, but one of the other problems, Aaron, you talk about with the weather is like, you got to get 2 games in regions of the country that get a lot of rain that time of year. I also think it doesn't do anybody favors that some of those first games of the day aren't scheduled to start until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, can we do an
TV thing?
Right. 100%. But I've always thought, and I'm sure there's a good reason, this is not me throwing stones ignorantly, but I've always kind of thought that, like, could we not start some of these at 11 local? Like, it's an hour difference. You'd get viewership a little earlier. Again, I know there's probably a reason why that doesn't work, but like, I think that's some of it is like, do we have to schedule Baton Rouge for 3 and 7? Because like, I can guarantee you that's not happening, like, it's just not.
All right, boys, these next 2 votes will be, you could vote yay, you could vote yay, nay. Like, these next 2 votes are sister votes, but you can vote independently, and we will vote independently. So this is going to be about the season. So the first proposal is to move our current season. As I understand it, opening day is the 3rd Friday in February. Now, this year, February 14th is literally the earliest it can be. And that's not technically the 3rd Friday in February, but it almost is. But it's off by 1 day. So, like, the first proposal is let's start the season the 1st Friday in March every year. This year, just to be clear, we would have started February 28th, but it's really like the 1st Friday in March is what we'll be targeting. So we're moving it back 2 weeks. That's the first proposal. I'll give you the second proposal. It would be 4 weeks. So we would go the 3rd Friday in March. So if we go back to last year, proposal A is opening day of the season is February 28th. And just for perspective, and then in proposal B, opening day of the season would be March 14th. So opening day this year was February 14th, Valentine's Day. Proposal A is February 28th. Proposal B is March 14th. Let me just give you the end of the season. This year, the game 3 of the finals would have been June 23rd. Proposal A's game 3 of the finals would be Monday, July 7th. And then Proposal B would be Monday, July 21st. So move it back 2 weeks, move it back 4 weeks. I'd be curious to hear what I think some of the people that are proponents of I would be curious. I don't want to give them their opinions, but I wonder if they would say nay to 2 weeks because they feel like it's just not enough. So I guess that's the whole point of the vote. Who wants to go first? Who's got an immediate opinion here?
I'll go first. I like Proposal A. I don't like Proposal B.
Yay and then nay.
Yeah, I think B is a hard sell you're essentially telling these athletic departments that they have no time off because, you're getting ready for football season in early to mid-August. So if you're going to the very end of July, for all these schools, the SEC schools who have a chance to get to Omaha, some of these people are literally, again, people are going to say, well, tough shit, but some people like some time off, in college athletics when some of their peers at other schools are getting a lot of time off. So I just think it's a hard sell to go all the way back to the end of July. But I've always loved the idea of July 4th during the College World Series in a place that to me is very much Americana. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I like Proposal A. Move back 2 weeks as kind of a compromise solution. And yes, you're right, Runes. Over the years, I've talked about how cool it would be to actually play, this summertime sport during the summer and not start in winter. But I do think 2 weeks would make a measurable impact. You got a lot of spring popping by the time March is starting, right? Early March, even. Those 2 weeks make a big difference in the South anyway. And, sure, those northern teams are still gonna have to travel the first week or two, but being forced to travel a week or two, probably 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks, that makes a big difference. It makes your life a lot easier for those northern teams as well. So I do think that feels like the sweet spot for me. I would say no on Proposal B. I think 4 weeks is probably just a little too aggressive, but Proposal A, I love.
Joe?
I will take either. Let me be clear about that. I'm actually going to go with Proposal B. And I think there's a couple of advantages to that plan that don't necessarily exist to the same degree in the 2 week plan. One is that the biggest one for me is that I do think if we're going to think really big about this and try to, and I tend to be an incrementalist by nature, but in this, if we're going to really try to make a big change that could send, to use a phrase I've heard before, a rocket up there, and send them to the moon. If we're going to do that, if we're going to do that with college baseball, I do think there's a chance that if we move this thing back 4 weeks to our entire postseason is most of it's in July, I do think there's a chance that college baseball ends up kind of owning late June and into July, because I made this point last week. So for those who didn't hear it, you'll hear it the first time here. During the month of July, did you turn your TV on to a sports channel at all during that month? The Savannah Bananas were on all the time, every documentary that ESPN has rights to was on all the time.
Good point.
There's just not a lot of new sports programming, right? Other than local, if your local baseball team, right? So I do think there's an opportunity for college baseball to really capture some eyeballs at a time where there's just not a lot going on TV. And I hear the giving people a break, within the athletic departments. I totally, and I'm in favor of that. I'm pro labor. I want to make sure people get their time off, but I also just think can we not just give you more time off when it's if you're an SID, right? Cause that's a lot of who we're really talking about here. Cause folks higher up the food chain can, they can manage their schedules a little differently. But if you're someone like an SID or creative staff or stuff like that, you're assigned certain sports. Can we not just give you a little more vacation time when your sports aren't in season? That's how every other company in the world works, by the way. There's no off season for most people's, Runes, you have a day job. There's no part of the season where it's just you're just done for now. And we'll see in 4 weeks. That's not, you have to take your vacation time. I just think those athletic departments might have to operate more like every other business in America, where there's just not an off season. You just take your vacation time when you take your vacation time. and you just understand that, hey, my season is, the summer is part of my job now in a way that it wasn't before. And oh, by the way, I don't know that some of those folks would hate that so much, because especially at these huge, massive public universities, people will tell you the best time to be in town is in the summer because nobody's there. So like, I do think there would be advantages for some of those people that get quote unquote stuck on campus, but I digress.
Hey, let me give you guys a couple more dates for perspective. Let me give you my vote. I would vote yay, nay, but I think if we even went with the more extreme proposal B, I think we'd get used to it. To your point, Joe, we'd figure it out. And there's a lot of benefits to it. I think we'd have a harder time passing it, is why I'm going yay, nay. Like, I think we're
agreed, by the way.
Yeah, for the good of let's move in a better direction. This is interesting though. Like, let's just focus on proposal A for a second.
Mm-hmm.
This year, Selection Monday was May 26th, which means that conference tournaments is the week before. So that's one of my contentions for proposal A, is that like, you really don't, May is such an awesome month nationwide, and we barely get any regular season games in May on campuses because of finals and conference tournaments and then Selection Monday. In proposal A, Selection Monday would be June 9th. So even the conference tournament gets pushed into June. So like the cold weather schools get the entire month of May. Now they wouldn't get to play home every weekend, clearly, right? They'd have to go home and away probably because of conference schedules and stuff. But I do like us turning the entire month of May over to these schools to host home games. So it's 2 weeks feels like not that much, but when you start to play out the calendar, it's pretty dang significant. I think what you're saying, Joe, has great merit though. Like, if we really want to, again, send rockets up people's keisters, then yes, the 4 weeks is the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would, like, in a perfect world, I think maybe I would vote with you, Joe. You made a compelling argument. It's a great point about, like, if we really want the sport to take the next leap, that would be the best way to do it. But yeah, I also voted for A just because of the practicality point. I think that's, as far as like what do we actually have a chance to do, I don't think we have any chance for 4 weeks, but we don't really probably have a chance for 2 either. If we're being realistic, like, it's stodgy institutions we're fighting against here. But 2 weeks feels like it'd be a lot more palatable than 4.
Yes. And to Kendall's point, like, we would be getting ready this year. We'd have been getting ready for the finals July 4th weekend, and we would have started the finals July 4th weekend. That would have been pretty epic. Hey boys, let's wrap with this. I would like to propose a task force.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Task force are bipartisan, right? Like, both parties do task force.
We know task force really get a lot done. So let's go ahead.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And they get mocked when it comes to the Ryder Cup. I would like to propose a task force that has members of the umpiring community and the coaching community. I think we're in denial. I'm really concerned about our relationship with the umpiring and rule making community. I feel like we're whistling past the graveyard. We're pretending it's okay. We had 10 high profile ejections in our last 4 NCAA tournaments. I know I'm beating a dead horse here. That is unacceptable. I'm not saying it should have been 0. I'm not saying, but it can't be 10. It can't be. If we want to grow our sport, we can't be ejecting high profile people just and then saying, well, they didn't follow the rules. I get it. Like, I get all that. That's why we need a task force. We need to both parties need to take steps forward in this regard. So I'm asking that you fellows would support my task force. Umpires and coaches, we need to do better. We can't just keep bouncing important figures in these NCAA tournaments.
My favorite part about this is when the people on pro umpire Twitter are going to come on here and tell us we're all a bunch of jerks.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Joe,
I support your task force. I don't want to be on it, but I'll support it, Rins.
That's right. Yes, that's the I did a podcast with Jeff Hendricks, who's one of my all-time favorites, and Scott Irby, and it was a wonderful conversation, and it made me those are reasonable people who I really respect and think highly of, we even 4 agreeable people on that call couldn't come to good conclusions, which made me feel like we've got some work to do, because the disconnect is more. I left that call actually more frightened, because it made me feel like, man, we're actually like reasonable people that want to agree can't agree on a path forward in so many ways. So anyway, I don't want to be a fear monger, but the 10 ejections are the 10 ejections. Like that's just, hey, and part of it is like, we do have to, the coaching community is not innocent here. Like Link Jarrett got run out of an NCAA tournament game because the umpires don't know what to do with a pitcher screaming cuss words into the opposing dugout. They don't feel like they've got tools to police that. So then the whole thing escalates, and then they end up running Link Jarrett, who's, like, I don't know, would we call him least likely to get ejected from a college baseball game? I mean, like,
if Link gets mad enough to get ejected, he probably has a really good point.
Yeah. But the umpires were frozen by this pitcher screaming into a dugout. They're like, what do we do here? Do we eject this player from an NCAA tournament game? Or are we just to stand down because we're told that today's player screams at each other? Like, that's just the way they communicate. Sorry, now I'm injecting my opinion. But should
we have like a task force with like the Gen Z kids? Like, hey, y'all, like maybe stop screaming cuss words at each other so much. Like maybe just tone it down a little bit. Like, can we tone it down just a little bit? Like those kids gotta they gotta own it too. Guys.
Yeah, that's right.
They gotta,
I like it.
Listen,
Fitzy,
they gotta own it.
We need some player representation on the task force. I like where your head's at.
Kind of stopped
listen, I'm serious though, because like, and hey, I stick up for a lot of the people who get ejected on Twitter and people, whatever. It goes back and forth. A lot of the ejections just feel like we got to have some more tolerance and all that stuff, but also the players, guys, like, come on, let's try. I'm not saying you got to just like drop your bat and, quietly walk down. You can show emotion, but like, can we stop screaming cuss words at each other? I don't think that's unreasonable either.
Amen. We don't. You don't. They're not mutually exclusive. You can celebrate exuberantly without screaming cuss words at your opponent. They don't have to be the same thing.
That's right. Thank you.
I'm going to think about that for a long time. That moment where Aaron basically just yelled at us, like everyone calm the F down, just.
I'm disappointed he did not.
That's how you do it. That's how you de-escalate a situation.
Stop screaming effing profanities.
Oh gosh.
By the way, Runes made me remember one of my favorite words to live by, which is if you're going to monger something, make it fish, not fear.
Ooh,
I think that's write that down.
Oh gosh, that's. I also wrote distinction without a difference. Joe, do you know that you use the phrase "canary in the coal mine"? And I've looked it up no less than 5 times, and my brain cannot get there. It's a forewarning, correct? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a sign of things to come.
That's like garbage. My opinion, a garbage idiom. Is it an idiom? What would you call it? It's garbage. It doesn't actually like contribute anything. Because I'm with Runes. I'm like, what does this mean?
It's a task force on idioms. Is what we need.
Don't really go together. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's our homework for the next week. Is the history behind that.
Yes.
Well, I think it's now. I'm going out on a limb here, so like I'm not. I think it comes from the fact that if a canary comes out of a coal mine covered in coal dust, like that's a bad omen because the coal dust is not supposed to be all around the mine because that's how you end up with explosions.
Why are there canaries in the coal mine to begin with?
Well, because birds fly into openings. Like the coal mine is open.
Are there canaries in Kentucky? I don't think so. West Virginia.
Well, there are coal mines in places other than Kentucky and West Virginia.
No.
The office building I used to work in was actually built above an old coal mine. How about that?
Sounds not like a great choice.
It used to be the headquarters for the coal mine company. So in the bathrooms, they still had showers, for the coal miners when they'd come in. Yeah. So there you go.
Joe, gentlemen, let's wrap it there. That was excellent. Joe, we're going to expect a full report on the Winston-Salem Open
Thank you.
The next.
Will do.
Fitzy, we're going to expect a full report on the next time you house somebody in Tecmo. I'm actually kind of disappointed that your younger cohorts at the ACC tournament, you didn't just absolutely abuse them in Tecmo. Now they think the game's easy.
To be fair, they were just watching me play. They didn't have the guts to actually take me on.
Afraid to compete.
There you go.
Yep. And Kendall, are you going to, final question, are you going to be on the chain gang for the Bengalis this year? Or are we just going to be a dad in the stands?
Road games only.
Oh.
And we only have 3 road games out of 8 games. So not
games.
Many opportunities to run the chain game.
Going into the cauldrons.
Yeah, that's a little bit more fun than you actually would think.
That's because Kendall's got physical presence. Like you're on the chain gang on a road game. Like that's not for the weak.
It is not, but that's all right. You got to stand your ground. We are a stand your ground state, so there you go.
Oh boy, here we go. Let's wrap, Coach. Cut. Let's wrap.
Task force. Well, we just racked up 3 task
I knew
force.
I would get a response from Fitt on that.
Oh gosh, there's our canary in the coal mine, and we are going to end this podcast. Happy summer, everyone! School is about to start. Fall will be here shortly. I hope you win all your Tecmo Bowl games, and that is it. We will catch everyone next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.